Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I am Rishabh Gulati. There are going to be imperative associations in a new world order centered around the Indo-Pacific that are going to define the coming decades of this century. The India-Taiwan Association is one of them. Two democracies, one that has shown remarkable and pioneering technological prowess, and the other on the cusp of becoming the third largest economy in the world. From geopolitics, global security and trade, and the complexities of modern day foreign and domestic policy, what is the future of Taiwan and how does it view the world situation and India's increasing role? Joining us now on a NewsX World exclusive is Dr. Joseph Wu, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Taiwan ROC. Your Excellency, first of all, many congratulations on the peaceful, free and fair democratic elections that have just been concluded in your country, the successful term of President Tsai, and best wishes to incoming President Lai in the service of the people of Taiwan, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gulati. It is my honor to be interviewed by you, and thank you very much for commenting on my country's democratic elections. And it is something that we are very proud of.
As you rightly should be, sir. Your Excellency, now, as you know, there has been an MOU on a pilot program on labor. How hopeful are you of a positivity going ahead in India-Taiwan relations in 2024?
I'm very hopeful. As we know very well about India, India is the largest democracy, and the population in India is very well skilled and very hardworking, and also has abundance of availability of the laborers. But here in Taiwan, a shining democracy and also a very blossoming economy in this part of the world. But we are in shortage of laborers. And therefore, the agreement that we signed a couple of weeks ago is going to provide a lot of opportunities for further cooperations in between our two countries. And other than the labor exchanges or labor cooperation, there's a lot of areas that we can look at to make sure that the bilateral relations will be going in a very positive direction. And among all the issues, I would like to say that the Indian culture is very attractive to Taiwan, and also the Indian economy providing a huge market is also very attractive to the Taiwanese businessmen. And therefore, looking forward, I see a very positive relations ahead of our bilateral relations. And I personally will be working very hard to make sure that the bilateral relations in every regard is working in a very positive way.
You know, it's quintessential. As Dr. Wu, you already know, we've done, countless numbers of telecasts trying to promote subjects of conversation and collaboration between India and Taiwan, because it is fundamentally important to where we see ourselves going in the Indo-Pacific. But there is a larger global situation, sir, in which we all have to figure out what the future is going to be. What are your views, Your Excellency, on the Russian-Ukraine conflict? There is an Israel-Palestine war and the implications on peace and stability, both in the Straits and in the Indo-Pacific at large.
You mentioned about the dynamics in the global strategy at this moment. The strategic situation that we see, as you mentioned, the war in Ukraine, the conflict in the Middle East, and also the tension in the Indo-Pacific, all points to one direction. That is the heightening tension in between democracy on the one hand and authoritarianism on the other. And if you look at the conflict and the tension in different areas, we see that Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea are working closely with each other than ever. And under these circumstances, I think the democracies have no escape but to work further with each other in order to prevent authoritarianism from expanding further. And if you look at this part of the world, China has been targeting Taiwan to apply a lot of military pressure, economic coercion, and also hybrid warfare, gray zone activities, and all that. But other than Taiwan, China has also been threatening Japan, especially in the East China Sea. China has also been threatening the integrity of the South China Sea, especially with the Philippines. And all these point to one direction. That is the expansionism of authoritarian countries. And since the authoritarian countries are working further with each other, we democracies, with Taiwan a member, and with India, a very large, in fact, the largest democracy in the world, it will require all of us to work further with each other.
You know, Your Excellency, of course, India has a complicated relationship with China as well. The situation on the Indo-Tibet border and in other places. But within this, what is the kind of future or hope do you see, both from support and good relations with India and the international community at large for the people of Taiwan?
I would like to point out that in the last few years, when Taiwan, a democracy, being threatened more by the PRC and all kinds of threats, including economic coercion, the international community seems to be aware of the situation more than ever. And whenever there's a large gatherings of international community, like G7 summit or G7's foreign ministers meeting, or US, Japan, Korea, Camp David summit, or EU summit, they started to realize that any conflict over the Taiwan Strait is going to have a major impact upon the rest of the world, especially economic impact. And therefore, the international community started to comment on the importance of peace and stability over the Taiwan Strait. And they also commented that peace and stability over the Taiwan Strait is indispensable to global security and prosperity. And I know that the Indian government has expressed a couple of times about the importance of peace and stability over the Taiwan Strait, and that is highly appreciated. And we hope the international community can continue to look at the importance of peace and stability over the Taiwan Strait. And Taiwan, as a democracy and as a shining economy, we look forward to further cooperation with other countries to make sure that the existence and the continuing prosperity of Taiwan is in the benefit of the rest of the world.
So what is your overview of the global situation, specifically in the Indo-Pacific right now? You've already mentioned, in the Philippines, in Japan. We've discussed adventurism in the seas around in the region, in the Straits. But the Indo-Pacific is a large question that we are all dealing with, and we understand that the future of the next few decades is going to be centered around the Indo-Pacific. So how do you see the overall situation?
The Indo-Pacific is indeed a focal point of international community concerning the expansionism of the PRC. I mentioned about China's ambition over the East China Sea and the South China Sea and China's military threat against Taiwan. But if you look beyond the first item chain, China seems to have a lot of appetite for expanding itself in the Pacific. A couple of years ago, China signed a security agreement with the Solomon Islands. And that was a sign that China was trying to expand its presence in the Pacific to threaten other countries, especially democracies in the region. And just a couple of days ago, we saw again, China sent police forces to Kiribati, again, in a mode of expanding itself. Every time one of our best friends, Australia, is doing a naval exercise along its coastal areas, China always sent a spy ship nearby to observe the Australian naval exercises. So this is what's happening in the Pacific. And I think the Chinese expansionism in the Pacific is beyond doubt right now. And I would also like to say that the Chinese ambition in the Indian Ocean should not escape our observation as well. China has that string of pearl or pearl string strategy, setting up ports along the Indian Ocean for current or future naval activities. One of the most prominent example, of course, is Port Hambantota in Sri Lanka. Now the Chinese seems to be ready to use Port Hambantota for its military purposes. And Port Hambantota is just one of the examples of many places where China is trying to secure ports for the naval operations in the future. And this is something that we are paying attention to. And I'm sure this is something that India cares quite a lot about. So if you look at the whole region, China's expansionism is one phenomena the democracies should care about. And other than the Indo-Pacific region, if you look at China's influence in Africa, in Latin America, I think the democracies have to worry about this aspect. China is using its economic clout and also its digital authoritarianism to expand further to influence the global south. And this is something that would require Taiwan and India, along with other democracies, to counter this kinds of expansionism. But fortunately, we see India is a major player in this region, a key member of the Quad, and also working together with other democracies. For example, the cooperation in between India and Japan, and also further cooperation in between India and the United States to provide an opportunity for democracies in this region to be able to withstand the kinds of expansionism of authoritarianism that we have noticed. And in this regard, I hope that Taiwan can work further with India. It may not be in the area of security, but economic cooperation, cultural cooperation, education cooperation, agricultural cooperation, all these will provide wonderful opportunities for us to benefit each other. And it will pave the way for better relations between Taiwan and India. After all, India is the largest democracy, the most populous country in the world, and we should work further with India.
All right. Speaking of economic collaboration, Dr. Wu, what is your assessment as you view India? Now, we are the fifth largest economy, and the growth that India has seen in the last decade under Prime Minister Modi.
India has a bright future for its economy. And Prime Minister Modi also has a string or a set of economic policies that will certainly bring India's economy to a new height. And when we observe the Indian economy, there's a new phenomena that Taiwan is trying to catch. That is the declining economic status of China. And when the Chinese economy is falling to its historical low, Taiwan's investment in the PRC is withdrawing or is reducing. And then we are investing in other countries. At the height of our economic relations with the PRC, 80% of our outbound investment went to the PRC. But right now, it's about 11% of Taiwan's outbound investment that was going to the PRC. And for the rest, we are targeting other markets for Taiwan's economic outlets. For example, we are making a lot of investment in Southeast Asia. Our companies are also going to Mexico and Europe. And a lot of Taiwanese companies are also going to India. And India is going to be a fabulous market for Taiwan's businessmen. And we also understand that the Indian leadership is targeting semiconductor as the next generation economic production. And Taiwan happens to be a powerhouse of semiconductor industry. And there's a lot of room for us to work with each other. And of course, India is at the beginning stage for its semiconductor production. And we have been speaking with our Indian friends on how to proceed from right now. We happen to have a lot of semiconductor institutions in Taiwan. And we also have a lot of companies that are working in similar areas, semiconductor or semiconductor-related industries here in Taiwan. And we are welcoming Indian students or engineers to come to Taiwan for higher education so that they can become the most important force in India's future semiconductor production, and especially in the area of high-tech production. Right now, we have about 2,700 Indian skilled laborers or engineers working in Taiwan. And other than that, we also have somewhere around 500 postdoc positions held by the Indians here in Taiwan. And this is going to be the most important force to help India to move ahead in the production of semiconductors. And of course, we also have companies that are interested in going to India to make investment, and we are helping all these industries to better equip themselves so that they can get used to the production in India. I know Foxconn has already started their operation in India, and there will be more. And other than the semiconductor production itself, there will be a string of other industries that can form an ecosystem. So we are discussing with our industries to make sure that they also eye on India for their future development or future investment for their semiconductors. So this is a progress, and I have a lot of confidence that Taiwan-India cooperation for the future of semiconductor production in India is going to be very fruitful. But please bear in mind that when we send our industries to India, they also bring their materials, their equipments to India, but we are facing one difficulty. That is a high tariff situation. So we hope that India and Taiwan can discuss on free trade agreement so that these will reduce the cost for our industries when they move to India. But again, there's a very good prospect for Taiwan and India to work further with each other in semiconductor industries or other related industries.
Okay, all right. Your Excellency, away from the technological and geopolitical sector, in promotion of the people-to-people contact which you mentioned, you already spoken about the MOU that has been signed and how many Indian engineers and students are already there. But when it comes to the media, cultural and educational collaboration, where can we take this further?
Well, this is a very good topic. Media happens to be an industry that show to the local population what other parts of the world is like. And therefore, if the Indian media is interested in cooperation with Taiwan, that is something that we would highly welcome. Take myself, for instance, if an Indian media is interested in speaking with me, I never say no. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity to allow the Indian audiences to know about Taiwan's viewpoints. And this is very important. And we also hope and we will facilitate the cooperation in between media institutions in India and in Taiwan. And it's very heartening to see that some of Taiwan's television stations now are viewing Indian television footages. I believe that they already have their institutional cooperation. So this is very positive. And we hope that in the future, we can also welcome Indian journalists to station in Taiwan. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will make sure that we facilitate their work over here, and will also provide all kinds of assistance if there's any.
Okay, so the future looks good amid all the challenges that, of course, we face. It's been a pleasure, sir, to hear from you and hear your very emphatic and clear points and assessment of the global situation. There are many things that I'm sure people watching here in India and across the world will readily agree with, and many points of confluence, especially as you mentioned in the semiconductor space, that we need to find, and we need to find rapidly. Your Excellency, Dr. Wu, thank you very much for joining us on NewsX.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gulati. I look forward to speaking with you again, and I also look forward to an opportunity to welcome you here in Taiwan.
And we look forward to the next interview in good circumstances to be in India's national capital. Have a very good day, sir, and thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.